They said when Sàngó laughed, thunder followed. When he was angry, the sky cracked. But they never asked, "Does death fear the king?" This is the story of a man who wrestled with gods and became one himself. Long before Nigeria had borders, before maps and flags defined the land, there stood the mighty old Oyo Empire, a place where the red earth kissed the feet of warriors and the palace drums spoke a language louder than words. In that land, a man ruled who was feared more than death itself, Sàngó, the Alaafin of Oyo. The elders would whisper in the cool of the evening, "WKYB and Rakaiku, a king does not fear death," but Sàngó was no ordinary king. He wasn't born ordinary. From the time he was a boy, fire seemed to follow him like a loyal dog. They said he could strike iron with his bare hands and forge it into weapons. When he spoke incantations, the very wind seemed to bend to his will. The people would hail him, Kabiyesi, a greeting reserved for a king whose power was undeniable. But Sàngó's greatest weapon wasn't a sword or a spear. It was Era, the secret magic of thunder, a power so ancient and profound it was taught only to him by the high priests of Koso. It was a gift from the gods, a direct line to the raw, untamed energy of the sky. In the beginning, Sàngó used this incredible power for good. He was the shield of Oyo. When enemies marched towards their walls, he would stand tall, call down the thunder, and watch as their armies scattered in terror. Neighboring kingdoms didn't dare challenge Oyo. Instead, they sent tributes and bowed in respect. Under Sàngó's rule, the empire grew rich, feared, and incredibly proud. He was the perfect king, a warrior god walking among men. But power, as the wise know, is a hungry spirit. It always demands a sacrifice. And slowly, almost without anyone noticing, Sàngó began to change. The king who once listened to the counsel of his elders now saw their wisdom as a challenge to his authority. The man who once revered the gods now mocked them, believing his own power was greater. His temper, once a storm on a distant horizon, was now a constant tempest within the palace walls. If villagers angered him over a small dispute, a missing goat, or a late tax payment, he wouldn't send guards. He would summon lightning into their huts, leaving behind nothing but smoke and fear. His favorite wife, the beautiful and wise Ya, would plead with him, her voice soft but urgent. "Dabami, ijj, ma benuru," she would beg. "My king, please, do not let your anger consume you." But when she looked into his eyes, she no longer saw the man she married. She saw only embers, burning hot and uncontrollable. Sàngó's heart had become a furnace. The breaking point came on a hot, starless night. Sàngó had been in a fierce argument with his two most trusted generals, Gwanka and Timi. They had dared to question his judgment on a matter of war and his pride. Now, a fragile and monstrous thing could not bear it. Blind with rage, he stormed out into the palace courtyard. He raised his hands to the sky, shouting the ancient words of power. But this time, something was different. The rage was too pure, the intent too destructive. The lightning he summoned was wild, untethered. It didn't strike his enemies, it struck the heart of his own kingdom. The bolt of pure energy slammed into the palace itself. The lightning misfired. Fire exploded outwards, consuming the intricately carved wooden pillars and thatched roofs in an instant. The blaze spread through the royal compound with the speed of a curse. The air, once filled with the rhythmic beat of drums and the sounds of life, was now choked with screams and the roar of the inferno. Children cried out for their mothers. The sacred palace drums, the very heartbeat of Oyo, fell silent, consumed by the flames. As the people of Oyo fled into the streets, they looked back and saw the sky above their burning city had turned a terrifying blood red. By the time the sun rose, its gentle light revealed a scene of utter devastation. The grand palace of Oyo was a smoldering ruin. The empire lay in ashes, brought down not by an outside enemy, but by the hand of its own king. The whispers started immediately, carried on the smoke-filled breeze. They were no longer whispers of awe, but of terror. "Is this king still human?" they asked. How could a man do this to his own people, to his own home? Shame was a feeling Sàngó had never known, but now it clung to him like a burial shroud. He was hunted, not by foreign armies, but by the very people he had sworn to protect. The faces that once looked at him with adoration now stared with hatred and fear. He had become a monster in their eyes. With nowhere else to go, Sàngó fled. He ran from the ruins of his life, from the ghosts of his actions, and sought refuge in the deep, dark forest of Koso, the very place where he had first learned the secrets of thunder. There, alone and utterly broken, surrounded by the ancient trees that had witnessed his rise, Sàngó finally understood the truth. He saw it with a clarity that his power had long blinded him to. A king who cannot control his own power is a greater danger than any enemy he could ever face. His strength had become his weakness. His greatest gift had become his deepest curse. Under the shade of an ancient ayan tree, a tree sacred to the thunder spirits, Sàngó tied a rope. His reign was over, his life as he knew it was over. What happened next is a matter of legend, a story told in 100 different ways. Some say he hung himself, ending his tragic story in the heart of the forest that gave him his power. But others, the ones who truly understand the nature of Sàngó, tell a different tale. They say the earth itself refused to accept his body. The ground shook, rejecting the king who had brought such ruin. And then the sky split open. Not with a single strike, but with a celestial explosion. Thunder roared not as a weapon, but as a cry of anguish and rebirth. Lightning danced across the entire sky, illuminating the world for a brief, brilliant moment. In that flash of divine fire, Sàngó did not die. He was transformed. He shed his mortal body, his pride, his regret, and became the force he had once tried to command. He became thunder itself. He became an Orisha, a god. To this day, in Yoruba land, when a storm gathers and lightning streaks across the sky, you will hear the elders cry out, their voices filled with respect and a touch of fear. Sàngó, oh, Kabiyesi. They are not just shouting at the storm. They are hailing their king. Because the story of Sàngó is the ultimate lesson. A fallen king became a god, not because of his pride, but because of his regret. His ascension to godhood was not a reward for his power, but an eternal penance for its misuse. He is a constant reminder, written in flashes of lightning across the sky, that the greatest strength is not the power you wield, but the wisdom to control it. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of Yoruba mythology. If you enjoyed this story and want to explore more tales of gods, kings, and legends from around the world, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We have so many more stories to share with you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.